Oh, wow, wow, wow. Good evening. We are back in studio, and I thought we were at a club, but we're
Joe, how
not.
you doing, Joetta?
I'm doing just fine, fine. Woo!
Oh my God, I
Mary
am
J.
also.
Blige. Wow,
Yes.
that brings
If
us
y'all
back.
wasn't moving on that song, something is wrong with you.
Good evening, and welcome to the Be Extraordinary podcast. After hearing that song, I know that you're moving and grooving, and you realize that you are extraordinary. I am Joetta. You know what I am, four-time Olympian, businesswoman, entrepreneur, and I am happy to be here with you as the host of the show, watching the Olympics. So I wore my Olympic necklace today. And we are just happy to have you again here with us again in the studio. I say we, you already met Tyrone Johnson. You know what he does. He's been a retired firefighter. He's a motivational speaker at times. He's a mental and health coordinator, and he also does high school coaching, and one of the most renowned coaches around, especially when he coached my daughter, his goddaughter. He'll tell you all about that. And I bring that up because this show is special. But before we talk about how special this show is, Tyrone, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Joe. And I brought my little necklace too, my firefighter necklace, my retirement necklace. So I'm with you.
Yeah, we both are retired, right?
Yes.
Well, look, this show is something special, and this show is being sponsored this month, actually, is being sponsored by Prime Time Scouting. And what they do is they help your students, athletes get into college, and they simplify the scouting process. So take a screenshot of that, and you'll be able to contact them to find out more information about the scouting process. And it's very difficult, but they help to make it simple.
And like Joetta said, the baby steps into going into certain things of primetime scouting, and when the host comes, the next person we bring on, he'll tell you little tidbits about things, because back here we have a couple of hats that the universities we went to. So before we went to those universities, we had to do the same thing. We had to figure out what part of the country we wanted to go to, or what school we wanted to go to.
And I tell you, when we look at this whole process, it's really complicated if you don't know anything.
Yes.
So what we want you to do, and we found out that is important, that you take notes, especially during this session, because you think you know everything until it's time for you to sit down online and fill out these forms and call these coaches and call these colleges and speak with your children. So right now, what we're going to do is talk to you about our guest that will be on the show. His name is Anthony Uva. He was a high school athlete, but he realized after winning the Group 1 state championships that he wasn't going to be that athlete in college. So what he decided to do was get his business degree and also start a company. And this company that he has focuses on recruiting and helping everyone get through this process. Is called The Secrets of College Planning. So that's something that he will talk a lot about as well. And he has a passion for making sure that this process is really easy, and he simplifies it for the student and student athlete and their parents. So Anthony Uva, the next person you see will be our guest on the show. And we look forward to having you talk with him. We got to give you some rules before we bring Anthony onto the screen.
Okay, like we always do, we have 3 different segments. So one segment will be, let me get this down because Joetta has a little bit of stuff on this paper. Okay, we're going to talk about deciding to go to college, as a student athlete. Okay, number 2 will be making college decisions. And number 3 will be preparing questions to ask for the coaches, about your athlete.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. And as always, we want you to participate. And if you have a question during the sessions, you have to raise your hand. And we also have the chat. So when you go to the chat, you can put your questions in the chat, and we will be able to help to answer any of your questions. So right now, we're going to bring Anthony Uva back onto the screen so we can introduce him to all of you who are waiting to see his handsome face grace our screen.
Thank you very much, Joetta and Tyrone. How are you? And
I'm
I
great.
didn't bring my necklace with me. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. You don't have a necklace, but I'm sure you have a lot of information that you want to share with us. And we're going to kind of hit the ground running, Anthony. So what we want to do is just talk to the process on when you're deciding to go to college as a student athlete.
Well, so there should be three things that people look at when they go into college. The first thing is geographically, where do they want to go? Is it the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, the West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska? That should be the first thing that people should be looking at. The second thing is academics.
Yeah.
You want to graduate from the school. You don't want to go to a school that you're not going to be able to graduate from. And the third thing would be the athletics. Try to find a team, a sport that you're going to fit in and you're going to actually start to play when you get there as a freshman. You don't want a team that's filled with freshmen and sophomores when you get there, because the odds on you playing is very much against you. If you find a team that's more with juniors and seniors at the college level, well, the seniors will be graduating, the juniors will become seniors, and you'll have a better chance of starting on the team as a freshman or a sophomore.
Yes. Well, that's very helpful news. I think as parents, sometimes they don't have that conversation with the child. They leave everything up to the child. So I think it's important to have that conversation. What about you?
Yeah, so parents should definitely sit down with their sons and daughters, way before they even get into high school. You wanna start getting them educated on what they need. There's a lot of process that you have to take. First thing should be the NCAA clearinghouse, or just filling out the form to make sure that the NCAA knows that you want to go to college and play at the college level. You can start as early as freshman year with that.
Well, we'll go into that section a little bit later on in the show, but right now it's really important for us to really focus in on what students have to do, student athletes have to do when they're deciding on going to the school. So you mentioned about the deciding on the school based upon location. Are there any other things that you're thinking about that would sway you one way or the other?
Well, you also should look at the size of the school. Do you think you can play at a Division I school, or a Division II, or Division III?
Yeah.
Each division is different for the student athlete, depending on what they're doing at the high school level. A person like yourself, Joetta, you're definitely going to go to a Division I type school. But someone that doesn't have those type of speeds, those type of abilities, they might not make it to a Division I type school. And a good 99% of the students out there aren't going to make it at a Division I school.
Yes. So I think that when you talk with your business, do you have parents and students that you talk to with this process, or when they come see you, they already have their minds made up?
No, most of the people that I work with are pretty much open-minded. They are just looking for any particular school. That's a majority of the people that I talk to.
Okay.
But on my TV show, I get presidents and vice presidents and coaches and teachers from the university level.
Yes.
And everybody does things a lot different than anyone else. It just depends on the school and where you're going. Everybody's looking for something different.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now, when you I have a question about the kids that aren't doing really good or as well their freshman year, grade wise. So
Yeah.
then they pick it up a little bit their sophomore year.
Yeah.
What is it, the junior year or senior year, when they should really decide if they really want to go to college or a trade school or the Army or something like that?
Yeah, so usually by sophomore, junior year, you're already, schools are already recruiting at a Division I level
Right.
type school. So they're already recruiting for that particular year. So you should know how good you are in school as well as in the sport by sophomore, junior year. if you're not very good in school, you should start thinking about other avenues and smaller schools. There's always a school out there for everybody. So it just stops from going to a particular school that you think you wanted to go to.
Yes.
Right.
Same
And
thing in
that's, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, the same thing goes in athletics as well. You know, the quicker you are, the better you are in agility and abilities, you know, the better the school's going to be. If you're not, you know, you should start looking at the smaller schools. So if you're a basketball player and you're only 5'5", you shouldn't be looking at a big time Division I school, because if you're 5'5" sophomore year, junior year,
Yeah.
the odds on you becoming 6'8" is very slim to nothing.
Yes. And I think that that's a conversation that people don't want to have with their families, is that we all have aspirations. And as parents, we want to encourage our children and support them wherever they want to go. But there comes a time when you're making that decision that as a parent, you have to step in. I know I went through the process with my daughter, and this would be a good spot too, if anyone wants to chime in who is a parent, and they had to have that conversation on the decision-making process, not where they're going to go to school, but the fact of the matter is if they're going to go to school and what type of school that they're going to go to. So if you are that parent, you could raise your hand and give us some of your ideas of what you went through. I know with Talitha, I knew she was going to go to college. That wasn't the point. And it wasn't even, what school she was going to go to. We knew she'd go to a Division I school. So the conversation that we had was that you're going to go to a school that fits you, and, make sure that you work on everything, this athletics, the surroundings, the academics.
Yeah.
It all plays a big part.
Yes.
Yeah. And if they, like I said at the beginning, if people look at geographically, then academically, then athletically, if you go in that order, you should be able to find a school that fits you.
Now repeat that again. Parents, take a note. He mentioned 3 things that are very important in the decision when you're deciding if they're going to go to college. What were they again, Anthony?
So it's geographically, academically, and then athletically. And it should go in that order because, 99% of the students aren't going to go do their sport after college. So you're going to get a good education.
Yes.
And so you want to get a good job after school. So,
Right.
and what happens in college is you get a good network and you get instant friends quickly.
Yes. Mhm.
So Joetta, you went to Tennessee, the track team has how many people on the track team? Right?
Yeah, there were a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
30, 35.
But
something
yeah,
like
30, 35 about
Yeah,
for women.
so they're your friends, right? They all become your friends right from
Yes.
freshman year.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is important. But I do say when they're deciding, I take that equation out. Do not go to a school just because your friend is going to that school.
Well, it depends.
Yeah. You think so?
If your friend is Talitha Diggs and you're senior in high school and you want to run track
Yeah.
in college, it depends.
But then what happens if you go make that decision to go because they're there and they transfer
No,
or they
I
leave to go
understand
pro?
that.
But so it is okay because my
Yes.
good friend went to school with me at Tennessee.
See,
So that did happen. But the chances of me going pro back in that time was slim to none. So I was going to finish school. But
Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah.
these kids are leaving and things are happening. But if you want to go because your friend is going, that conversation needs to be had, and you need to be candid with that conversation as to why you're going.
Yeah, well, I wasn't explaining it as friends of theirs from high school going. I was explaining it as friends. You become friends with those people instantaneously when you go to college.
go to college.
So
Right.
that's 30 people that you might not have known that all of a
Yes.
sudden are now your friends because they're doing the same thing you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
and that's the difference.
Yes.
Now,
But I could look on the screen right now and I see a couple of people that I went to college with, and they still my friends.
wow.
So that's a good thing.
Well, right now we're going to see if you have any questions that you want to ask regarding this session only. So we don't want to get too far ahead. So right now we're talking about deciding to go to college and universities and and what that process is like. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. And if you don't have a question, we're going to ask you something. We always do our check-in. So right now we're going to do our little check-in on you to find out what you were doing this week regarding your fitness and getting ready for the JoTyme Fitness Challenge. So does anyone want to chime in as to what you did this week that's going to get you ready for the fitness challenge in September? No one has any questions? And you can put your question or your comment in the chat.
Or raise your hand.
Or raise your hand.
I know somebody went to go pick up something that they didn't have
Yes.
to get ready for this fitness challenge. I don't care.
There's a hand there. So Vic, thank you for raising your hand, and we want to hear what you did to prepare for the fitness challenge next week. Thanks for checking in.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Hey,
I picked up my probiotic juice.
Probiotics, I got you.
Probiotic juice,
Yeah.
excuse me, and my tart cherry juice that I've
Yes.
been taking. I've been using that for quite some time now already.
Wow.
Okay.
And I started stretching. And started walking because I said, I know it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you're gonna meet me where I am.
Right.
So, and I get it. Yeah.
So, do you remember this hat, Vic?
Oh, I have one of those.
Do you remember your first day on campus at Lincoln University?
My first day on campus was the third Sunday in August of '86.
And who was your RA?
And Tyrone Johnson
All
was
right.
my RA and teammate.
A lot of history.
We had, yes, a lot of history. He gave me a lot of wisdom over the years, and we've become family.
And that speaks to your point, Anthony, about going somewhere, not knowing someone, but getting friends when you're on campus, and then they become your friends as you go through life. So thank you for sharing that information, Vic, and thank you for checking in with those comments. We appreciate that. So Anthony, before we go to our next session, do you want to say anything else about decision-making process for college? Not which one to go to, but if they should go to school, because they are alternative options for kids. So if they don't go to a traditional 4-year school, are they going to go to an HBCU? Are they going to junior college? So do you speak to those issues or concerns from parents as well?
Yeah, so you know, there's many different schools out there. There's well over 3,600 colleges in the United States. So there's a school out there for everybody. You just have to find the right school. There are community colleges that have sports. So you can go to a community college if you know a 4-year college isn't for you. You know, the HSBC schools are huge schools. So you know, if that's the avenue you want to take,
Yes.
that's great as well. It just depends on the person and what they're looking for.
Yes.
Well, I think right now we're going to do one more thing too that we like to talk about, and we do our check-in. But also, we wanted to say, when you see these hats behind us, and we're going to reflect a little bit on our decision-making process. As you know, Anthony, and the audience may not know, I was the top high school recruit when I came out in 1980. And so I came out of school with people like Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, Cheryl Miller on the athletic side, Charles Barkley, Willie Gault, Reggie White. So those were the athletes that I came out of school, and I was the #1 recruit, not only in the state, but in the country,
Yes.
male and female. Now, I'm not just saying that. That could be documented by Sports Illustrated. I tell you that because even though I was a top recruit, it was difficult back then making a decision, and we didn't have all of the videos and things to show and putting that all together. We didn't have YouTube. So when the coach told me that she was recruiting several girls that would at these times, I had to believe her, and that we would win the AIWs. That's what it was back then, my freshman year. So when I was making my decision, I basically narrowed it down, like you said, all the schools, my final 4 schools were Tennessee, UVA, Indiana, and Georgetown. So those are my final 4. They were all good schools. And so I ultimately went on geographics. I wanted to be far away from home, but close enough to get there. And at that time, there was an airline called New York Apple. And that's what I would fly back and forth. And I also wanted to make sure that the team was good. So that's why I landed on Tennessee.
Yes. Great
How'd you
job.
land up at
Well,
Lincoln?
mine went a little bit different because sports was my thing. I love sports, running track, became real good junior year. Got hurt at the Penn Relays, missed the state meet, and missed the opportunity because junior year, just like Anthony just said, a lot of recruiters come to see you run. So they came to see me run at the Penn Relays. I dehydrated, I'm in the hospital, no states. I missed my window. Senior year, I'm on fire. Start breaking records, third fastest in the country, all these top times, but nobody wanted to, get me. So the next thing I know, Lincoln University gave me a call, Coach Cyrus Jones, and said, this was August the 3rd. I think school was getting ready to start in a week. Can you come up and, see if you like the campus? Mom and dad in Florida. How am I gonna get up there? I'm 18 years old. I got on the train. I went up to Lincoln University. He picked me up. And like we say, the rest is history. I went there, graduated, got a degree, became All-American in the Hall of Fame. And, that was my story at Lincoln University.
And thank you for sharing that. I think, Anthony, a lot of times we look at what's going on then. Some of that is the same, but there are a lot of new things. So let's talk about, now that you know where you want to go, what do you have to do to prepare you to go to school? And parents, this is very important. Don't let the guidance counselors take over the role for your child. Be involved, because a lot of times, as good as they are, they don't know everything. They have a lot of other students, so your child may not be a priority. So I think it's important for you to listen to this segment right now, because there's certain things that have to happen if you want to have your child compete at the NCAA level as a student athlete. So Anthony, can you speak to those points?
Yeah, so now, social media is really big. So, a lot of the students are getting in contact with the coaches via Twitter and TikTok, Instagram. So that's one avenue. You want to have video uploaded to YouTube or Vimeo or Roku or something like that, and send it out to the coaches.
Right.
You want to get in contact with the coaches. You want to make the phone calls to the schools and tell coaches that you're interested and you want to go there and you want to go visit. So those are some of the things that you want to start doing. And these days it's pretty simple. It's a lot of click and touch and boom, you're there.
So, but when you're deciding to make that call to the coaches and put together these packets, do you think that really makes a difference to put together a packet to present to the coach, or are you just, or is that not necessary?
No, so a lot of the coaches, they don't have a lot of time. So having a packet, a resume basically with a picture on it, giving all the statistics, all of the information from the school, a lot of the transcript. A big thing with college coaches is students don't get their transcripts in. So the coach doesn't know if they're working with a D average student or an A average student.
Yes.
So getting the transcript in and telling coaches, all about your history in high school, that's big. And that gets the dialogue started, because the bottom line is you want to talk to the coach.
Right. So what happens also when you're a junior in high school is important that you do something with the NCAA. You want to speak to the eligibility center and the importance of registering your child, or if the child is doing it themselves.
Yeah, so the eligibility center is pretty simple. You go to ncaa.org and you go to the eligibility center there, and you fill out all the information. You don't have to worry about if your student wants to play Division 1, 2, 3. You
Right.
just have to know that you want to play at the college level. They give you a 9-digit number, and then that number is your number to talk to the coach about, because all the information that I was just telling you about will be in that format.
Okay.
And then they have to monitor that. Who helps them through that process? Because even though you're now registered for the NCAA through the eligibility center, how is that monitored? How are the grades uploaded, your transcripts uploaded? These are things that parents and kids have to stay on their
P's and
guidance
Q's,
counselors and
yeah.
P's and Q's with.
Yeah, so you know, the guidance counselor and the high school coach and people like that, they need to help those students. And then there's organizations out there like the one who's sponsoring your show, Primetime. You know, there's plenty of organizations out there just like them that you know, try to help the students and guide them through everything.
Now, Tyrone, he mentioned about coaches, the eligibility center, there's a fee for that. So I know you spend a lot of money over the years with the kids. Can you speak to
Yeah, back then when we competed, me and Joetta, it was probably nothing really.
Yeah.
And then by the time the 80s and 90s came, it was $50. But now for you to register, you know, to become cleared to run or do any sport in college, it's $70 for regular students, and international students is $120. So that one-time fee, just like Anthony just said, gets you on the radar. As soon as you pay that one-time fee, you're automatically enter into the portal of the NCAA clearinghouse.
And that's so important. I remember going through and looking at and updating and making sure everything's uploaded. And don't they give you a way? And this is important, parents. There's certain steps that you have to follow and they have to be completed. Can you speak to that, Anthony? The steps that have to be completed prior to you even going to that school. You have to have all of these steps complete.
Well, you need all of the college preparatory information
Yes.
for high school. So you need your 26 credits from in the different studies. You know, your math, your science, social studies, things of that sort. And then you need all of the information like SATs or, you know, ACTs, things of that sort. So you need everything as you go along through your high school. That's why you need your high school guidance counselor and coach to help you along the way. Because if you're not in that college preparatory type of environment and you're just going to high school just to go to high school, you might not be taking the right classes. You might not be taking the right information that
Yes.
you need to go on to college and play at the college level as well.
I think too, when you're doing the ACT and SAT and your AP courses, and even if you're not doing those AP courses, the SAT and ACT outside of COVID, it's hard to get around that. So can you speak to, should they do one or two, or should they contact the school to see which one they should take?
You mean SATs and ACT?
Yes.
Compared to, yes.
Yeah, so most of the southern schools will take ACT.
Yes.
Most of the northern schools take SAT.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of schools now that are going without any test scores whatsoever.
Yes.
So again, when you do something like that with no test scores whatsoever, you know, they're going to base it all on your grades. So hopefully your grades are very good.
Yes.
Okay, and we had a discussion the other day. A couple of my friends, because they have kids that do athletics, and they're juniors. So they said, "What do you have to maintain to be an athlete in college?"
Yes.
And I told them 2.3. And before, like I said, in the 1980s and 70s, it was 2.0. It seemed like every year it goes up. No, every 5 years. So right now you have to have a GPA to maintain your scholarship of a 2.3. And that's a C+ average. So a lot of times people don't realize when you leave high school with, you know, these 3.9s and 3.8s, but then you go to college and now you're trying to put athletics and sports and your social time and your practice time and everything together. One grade might shift and it might stress you out so much that you won't put any effort into the easy classes. And then the next thing you know, you have a 2.2.
Right.
And now you almost on academic probation until the next semester comes. So a lot of times I always tell my athletes when they get to school, study, study, study. You're at practice, bring your books. You go to the gym, bring your books. You go to the library, bring your books. everybody want to, you know, have fun on the weekends. Sometimes you got to get up super early, just study for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You can have fun the rest of the day. So a lot of times that's what we get, the kids lose a little bit of that parenting, checking on them. Did you do your homework? How your grades, all these things. Then when you go to school, nobody's checking on you. You know, the coach is making sure you're doing well on the track or a football field, you know, but he's knocking on your door at 7 o'clock at night, checking on you. Did you do your homework?
And that's going to be some questions that we're going to ask in the next session about what to ask coaches when you're on that campus. I think too, Anthony, when you're speaking about the parents and the student athletes, and we're talking about grades right now, because if your grades are not up, you're not going to be able to compete. You're not going to be able to travel. So it's very important that you keep those grades up, but also prior to getting into the school, you have to know what AP courses count, because I know that we experienced the fact of taking these AP courses and classes, and you have to get a certain score, either 3, 4, 5, depending on the school, for it to count as credit. And then Talitha had these AP courses that didn't transfer over for credit. So I think she went in about 9 to 12 AP credit, which was good. But again, taking those AP courses, test, what, $95? I'm sure you kick a lot of money out. So it does get expensive, but if you don't do that, then it's going to be difficult to get into schools, no matter if it's Division 1, 2, 3, or whatever. So can you speak to the importance of that?
Yes, I mean, you mean grades.
Yes.
Knowing who should they talk to find out what courses will count as credit at the university going into the school. Not while they're there. We're talking about going into the school. Who should they communicate with to find out what count?
Well, at the high school level, it's the guidance counselors. The guidance counselors have all that information.
Right.
At the college level, the admissions department would give you all the information on at the college level.
Yeah.
So it's important for the parents, do you think, instead of them just having their kids take all these AP courses, and again, if you take them and you don't pass the test, it doesn't count. So is there a strategy behind that, or just let the kids take the AP courses and the AP test and not knowing if it's going to count toward the university?
Well, you should talk to the university first to find out. You know, that's the key to doing AP classes.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that right now we're going to take a little break. We'll do a check-in in a minute, but we want to do the JoTyme health tips. This is an important segment of the show. And what we want to do is, if you see these slides, please feel free to take a screenshot of the slide, because he may not read everything of the slides. But also, if you miss it, you can go to YouTube, type in JoTyme Fitness, and you can see everything again.
Okay. This is August, right? You had a birthday, huh?
Oh, I did. Did I have a birthday?
August the 1st. So is August the whole month for you? For your
the whole month. I used to celebrate the whole year. There we go.
Oh,
happy birthday to me.
Oh man, happy birthday, Joe. I forgot August is the whole month.
Oh, the whole month, not just the first, but yes.
So you look fabulous at 5. I can't tell what the other number is.
Yeah, you see that number.
Oh, 5'9". Oh, okay.
5'9". Get back to these JoTyme health tips. I don't have any 59 health tips for you right now. I just turned, I only been 59 for a couple of days.
Okay.
Check back in later.
Now with these health tips, I remember I did a couple of things back then with breathing and blood and everything like that. So now this is a very important one. It's for everybody, including myself. So it's how to listen to your body. Okay. Everybody, there are red flags that come out. And one of the things is, if something feels really off, like being not able to see, talk, walk, think clearly, or you're having chest pains or shortness of breath, you know, call 911 or go to the hospital. So if you have any situation where your eyes, I had a quick story. I'm in Texas. My cousin wasn't doing well, and a friend of mine called me on the phone. He's bowling. He goes, Tyrone, I'm bowling, and it's like I got double vision. I said, man, have you ever go to the hospital? He said, I don't have insurance. I said, listen, go to the nearest clinic. He went to the clinic. His blood pressure, his heart rate, he was diabetic, didn't know it. 500, 600 was on the number, his number. And that little information that I told him to do, he went there and it saved his life, literally saved his life.
Right.
So Do I need a rest day? Okay. These are the things that you should think about. If you're feeling sore or worn out, you don't feel up to working out today, didn't have enough sleep, your bed or couch is calling you. That means you need a rest day.
Yeah.
Your body's tired. Is it aging? Yeah. Sometimes things change. You know, our bones, our joints start to hurt or just, you know, deteriorate. You're not as flexible as you used to, but this one right here is still flexible, Joetta, the dancer.
And that's the dance.
And if the next one is some of the things about your heart when your heart rate feels a little off. Okay. You start to feel lightheaded or dizzy, or your heart is racing or fluttering. Remember, I told you in December, I woke up Saturday morning and for some strange reason, it took me so long to get a breath. And I said, why does it feel like I can't breathe? I'm breathing. I put the oximeter on my finger, and the next thing I know, my oxygen level was 90. I knew something was wrong at that time. I called my doctor, meet me at the hospital, and I took care of that situation myself. Okay. An easy workout that suddenly seems to be hard. If you're just doing maybe some fast walking and all of a sudden your pulse goes up and it stays there, that's when you're in trouble. Things that get you in trouble. So just take a screenshot of this page, and bottom line, if something don't feel right, go to the hospital. Okay, this one right here is when you're burnt out. Every single person that's watching this Zoom, or everybody, is gonna get burnt out. I don't care who you are. Me and Joetta, at one time, we had to go back and forth finding places for Talita to go inside the gym to train, this and that. It's freezing, it's winter time. Yep. We were burnt out. Totally, we trained her, but we're burnt out.
We're burnt out.
So burnt out means that you're under extreme stress, you have less energy, you have headaches, and upset stomach, and little things that didn't used to bother you. Now everything just bothers you. That's when you know you're just burnt out. So the solutions are to exercise, have positive relationships, mediation, and smile and laugh. And most of all, take a break from whatever causes you stress. So if Joe gets on my nerves at times, which he never does, take a break. Okay.
Okay, you covered up from that one.
Okay, and this segment right here is putting on the brakes. We had an incident yesterday at work. A friend of mine slipped and fell, and actually he tore his quad muscle. 62 years old. But when he slipped, he tried to brace himself. And the first thing he tried to do was get up. And I said to him, please don't get up. The first responder came out of me. I kept him down. EMS came. They put him on a gurney. They took him to the hospital. As soon as he called me back, he said, T, you were right. Something wasn't right. I tore my quad muscle, and he's having surgery this morning. So when I tell people that something ain't right, well, you just can't move yourself, you can't get up yourself, something just won't, it's too hard, go through this RICE thing. And RICE is just simple. All it is rest, ice, compression, and elevate. Those things you do to take that pressure, that tension, that soreness, that swelling out of your system. Okay, and this is the last one, and this one is a good one, because when your appetite changes because of moods or weight loss or weight gain or things like that, some conditions are that we're just getting older. That can affect our appetite. If you find that your appetite changes, your body may be telling you that something is just not right. It may be that you are stressed out or you're eating emotionally. And I do that sometimes. Sometimes it's a Friday and I'm just tired and nothing is on TV and I just start eating, and all of a sudden I just, you know what, let me go out and go for a walk. Okay. And the last note for this is, it helps to be active and eating healthy foods. Always consult your doctor.
Yeah, that's important. Always consult your doctor. So that's the JoTyme health tip for this week. So I hope that you appreciate that. A lot of work goes into it because we want to meet you where you are. And that's very important to take those notes. We're going to go back to our guest, Anthony, our final segment right now. And remember, if you have any questions, parents, if you have been a parent of a student athlete, if there are any student athletes that are on here now, feel free to raise your hand. And Anthony, we're going to talk about all of this in this segment. You have something called the Secrets of College Planning, and you talk about scholarships, financial aid, the admission process, and all that good stuff. Feel free to contact Anthony at that slide, but we have you live now. So Anthony, preparing questions for the college coach. Preparing questions for the college coach. And after I ask you that, we're going to have a question from Ellis there. We're going to see what he has to say. But before we go to Ellis, can you just give us a couple of quick questions to ask a college coach?
Sure. So a couple of questions that usually you should go into is time management. You know,
Yes.
because the biggest thing at the college level is time management. And if the coach isn't going to have time for study or time for doing other things other than the sport, that might not be a coach that's going to have the best interests of
Yes.
you in mind.
Right.
So that should be number one. Number two, like I said at the beginning, you should find out what the roster is and ask the coach for the roster of the team and see, you know, who's on the team. If
Mhm.
there's all freshmen on the team, you might want to think twice before going on a team that has all freshmen, because they're going to be all sophomores when you get there. You know, and then the last thing is you know, what's the whole process of a whole year's worth of what you're going to go through
Yes.
when you get there. You know, some schools start real early,
Yes.
August, and some schools start after Labor Day
Yeah.
in September.
Yes.
So it just depends. And some schools have a regimen all the way through the whole year, and some schools don't. It
Right.
just, so those are just some of the questions that you should be asking the college coach before you even go to school.
Yes.
Okay.
So Ellis, we're going to see what you have. You have a question. So if you don't mind asking your question to the group or to Anthony, whoever you're going to ask it to.
Hi, good evening, Joetta, and good evening, Anthony, and good evening, Mr. Lincoln University. How you guys doing this evening?
Tyrone.
Sir.
Tyrone, yes, sir. Anthony, how important is the academic aspect of things when colleges are speaking to students and student athletes? Really, how important that is? I know we always get into talent, size, speed, but really the core value of academics. Can you talk about that? And thank you for your time.
Yeah, so academics is very important because you want to graduate from the college.
Yes.
So, you know, to graduate from college, like Tyrone said, 2.3 is to play your sport. A 2.5 is to actually graduate from the school.
That's
Yes.
right.
So, you know, you're going to have to do a little bit more than just playing your sport. And like I said before, 99.9% of the students don't play after college. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at two people on the screen that aren't playing their sports anymore.
No, not now. You're right about that. Thanks for asking that question. There's a question from Coach Mark, and Ellis will be our next guest on the show. He's from Prime Time Scouting, so you got a little cheat of looking at him, and we look forward to having you next week. But Coach Mark, do you have a question or comment about the segment?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having Anthony on. Great information. I'm glad he's in the space as well. I think one of the things that sometimes people don't quite understand is the importance of making sure you have the right people around you giving you information and getting the right, excuse me, the right information. Because what happens a lot of times, parents think they know. And one of the things we talk about at prime time, what you guys think you know sometimes make you feel it's more important than what we know. This is the space that we're in. I liken it to if you're about to buy a house. Maybe in your lifetime, you might buy one. Some people buy multiple houses, but you'd want to have a real estate agent help you work through that. Or if you're doing some kind of legal stuff, you want to have a lawyer. So having someone that can help you navigate through all of the information that you get is very, very important. I just want to say thank you guys for having me on, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, and that's Mark Primetime Scouting. Thank you for sponsoring this segment. You know, we're talking about asking questions, and it's important to know if you're going to play and who's on the team, but it's also important to know if you're going to be redshirted. That's a discussion to have, and not just in track and field, but in any sport, to ask that question about being redshirted and talking about tutoring. Is it mandatory to have tutoring sessions? So what do you think about those type of questions, Anthony?
Yeah, so those are just added questions that you should definitely talk about. Redshirted gives you that extra year that, you know, a lot of students are looking for. And then tutoring, I mean, you want to graduate. That is the biggest thing. So if your coach isn't allocating enough time for tutoring or studying, you know, it's going to be very difficult to do your sport and actually go to school to you know, to graduate.
I think that as being student athletes ourselves, and then being, you know, Tyrone seeing so many student athletes, you know, I guess another question for parents and students to find out the importance of the support they get if they miss classes for traveling. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that's huge. You're going a lot. So, and if you're taking classes, you know, do you have makeups, or how does that fit into your schedule of training and traveling?
And we went to a few meets outdoor with Talitha at University of Florida. And as she was preparing to compete at certain meets, she was taking a test. She would be in her room, she would do a test, go run a race, come back, do another test, you know, because sometimes it was finals. So a lot of times we have to be on top of our game. Like, we got to know what the end is. Like me and Joe always say, what's the bottom line? So the bottom line is, yeah, you got a scholarship. Yeah, you're going to college. Yeah, you're competing against. But the bottom line is, you got to be good at everything: sports, academics, your personal life, your everything. Because when that mic gets in front of you after you run, they're going to ask you, so Talitha, how did you prepare for the race? And you have to automatically, you're tired and, you know, ready to sit down, but you got to give them what they need at that moment.
And I think, Anthony, you being in that world of, you know, knowing about colleges and with your TV show that you have, I've been on that show, Tyrone has been on that show. You have a lot of great information, but I think that this part right now, if you can speak to our parents specifically about the importance of them standing up and being their kids' advocate as they make that transition from high school into college. A lot of times parents are relying on their coaches or the guidance counselors or even their kids. Tell how important it is for the parent to be the advocate for their child.
Yeah, so, you know, everybody's got a life out there. So, you know, if you're depending on the high school guidance counselor and the high school coach, you have to remember how many students are in the high school. You know, each guidance counselor could range anywhere from 25 students to 225 students, depending on the size of the school. So that guidance counselor has a home, has a family, has something going on outside the school. So, you know, the guidance counselor's job is, yes, to help your student go to college, but the guidance counselor's job is not to actually find the school for your son or daughter. That's up to you to tell the guidance counselor, hey, I like these schools. This is what I'm looking for. So that's the first step. And the same thing happens with high school coaches. You know, how many people are on a team? There's, you know, anywhere from, you know, 6 to 26.
Right.
And, you know, and the same thing happens. They have a life of their own, and you know, their job is, to try to help, but they're not going to do it as hard as you are going to do it to find your own school. And that's what people should look at. They should look at trying to understand that it's their job. They're the mom and dads. It's their job to help their son or their daughter find the right school. Go on. That's really what it comes down to. There's a statistic out there. 7 million students graduate every year from the high school level. 2 million drop out of high school.
Wow.
2.5 million drop out of college in the first 2 years. So you're left with 2.5 million people that are actually going to graduate from a 4-year college.
Yeah.
That's really an amazing statistic.
So what happens when you get injured and then you're trying to
Keep your scholarship.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
or
get
stay
your
on the team.
stay
you
on the
know?
team, keep your scholarship, or prove that you got hurt your junior year, your sophomore year in high school, and then you have to talk to that. I mean, I know you coach athletes have been hurt, and what did you tell them? No one's calling them up because they're hurt and they're injured. So how did you
And I
tell them
think,
that?
like I said, because I went through it my junior year and didn't get the calls that I thought I was going to get because of the people that I beat, but they wound up going to Florida, Kentucky, but I beat them.
Yeah.
And so what I tell the kids is, you still got to put yourself out there. What you do is, because right now it's totally different from when we went to school. It's called a portal. So you go to that school, you get your grades up, you get your running up or your football stats up, and then you could transfer through the portal. The portal is a really good avenue for kids now, and you don't have to sit out. Before, we would have to wait a whole semester to compete again.
Yeah. And that's the portal is something that you will do possibly when you get to college. So, and that's another show. I'll talk about that. I think maybe next week we'll go into that.
Whoa.
That's really because there's pros and cons to that, and also what the student athletes now have the access of getting money and getting paid now.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's a whole nother conversation that we're going to have. But right now, for our parents, we want you to know that it's important for you to stay engaged, to listen to your child, but to also hold those coaches accountable. Read over those contracts. Make sure your child is in the eligibility center. Make sure that they are taking their tests. Know when the deadlines are. So Anthony, in closing, do you have anything you want to say to these parents and to these student athletes to let them know the importance of, as we're calling this, college prep 101? And we're going to have some questions too.
Yeah, so like we said at the beginning, parents should stay on top of their students and talk to them. They can go online and go to Amazon.com, and they could look up Secrets of College Planning for Student Athletes. My book is out there. It has yourself, Joetta, in the book. It's got a whole bunch of athletes and coaches from the college level that talk about their experience and what they went through. So it's a quick read, and it'll help everybody if that they don't have the time to do it. At least they can get some understanding of how it all works.
And before we go to that question from Vic, could you put that slide up about how to contact Anthony and to get his book and all that good information on Amazon and his websites, and email him? So that's very important that you take a screenshot of that or write it down, because he has a lot of information, and the show is not long enough to go over everything. I know Tyrone wants to say something before we get back to Vic.
Yes, and I was just wondering, like a lot of people that's out there that have student athletes that are younger, like 7th, 8th grade, and they're not even in high school. And right now the Olympics is going on. So right now my state did really good this year. 2 people from the state of New Jersey, Athing Mo and Sydney McLaughlin, both won gold medals in their events, the 400 hurdles and the 800 meters. And I started races for them. I'm a track and field official. So at times I would start races back when they were in high school. But to see how they elevated their game, and both of them went to school for 1 year, just like Anthony said, they decided to go to college. Sydney went to Kentucky and Athing Mo went to Texas A&M. After 1 year, they broke the collegiate record in both of their events, and they became pro in 1 year. And now both of them are Olympic champions. But that road to that success, Joetta always says, it starts at home. It starts in the mind. It starts with eating right. Everything has a starting thing, because when you see them, you can just see the championship look in the face, the confident coming out of straightaway. As soon as they finish, they got to go right to the mic and start talking. So that's all a part of the process. So thank you, Anthony, so much for, just giving people a little insight on when to get started to start the college recruit process and what it entails. Thank you so much.
And I have a question from Vic. I know you may want to ask you something, Anthony.
Okay.
How you doing, Anthony? I have a couple friends who've asked me, for advice, because their kids' coaches have told them, well, don't register for the NCAA thing. I'll take care of it for you. But then they never do. Do you have any advice for those type parents?
Go to ncaa.org and do it yourself.
Do it
What I
yourself.
told them, they were so gung-ho and they put all their eggs into the coach's basket and they ended up with nothing.
Right.
Wow.
So I said, you know, I put it out there, but I said, listen, I could give you advice because you came to me. I can't make you do it,
Yes.
and you do what you're going to do, but this is what I would have done.
Right.
And, you know, I just wanted to check and just to see if, you know, if I was on the right path or not. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I think you are on the right path with that. As we said earlier, the parents have to be the advocate for their child. And look, it would be great if the decision process was simple. Sometimes your kids know where they want to go, what team they want to be part of. And those are conversations you have to ask. If my daughter would have said to me that I want to go to the University of Florida because I want to go to the Swamp football games, and that's the reason why, that would not be a school she's going to. So that might be one of the reasons, but that had better not been the first thing out of her mouth, because we would have to have another conversation.
Yes.
So it's important that you have the conversation to find out really why they want to go. Be an advocate for your child. Be able to hold those guidance counselors accountable, but more importantly, you have to hold yourselves accountable. You can't blame anybody else. Your daughter went to school and you had to do what you had to do to get her in there. You can't.
Tennessee.
Yeah, you can't.
Tennessee.
You can't blame anybody else for that. So I don't know if we have any more questions from anybody else, but I just want to say thank you, Anthony, for being on the show, and thank you for all of the wonderful things that you're doing. Good luck with your new book and your show. Thank you for coming on the show that's been sponsored by Primetime Scouting, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week on the show, Primetime Scouting. And then I just want to say that as we always end up, we had the fitness challenge. And so Tyrone tapped on some of the things that you're going to have to need for the 28-day fitness challenge. And we're going to talk about conditioning, nutrition, and rest. And also you're going to need water, rope, workout gear, the journal, and a positive attitude. Put yourself first. So that's what we're going to be doing this month, getting ready for the next month. And as I always say, it doesn't matter what road you take, but what you become along the journey. So thank you for taking this journey along with us, Anthony, and to the audience. And Tyrone, do you have anything to say in closing?
No, this was a very good show for me, because like I said, I've done so much in recruiting myself, but to still put it out there to the audience to let them know that this process gets better and better as you know more about it.
And thank you
very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
You're
having us.
welcome.
And we'll see everybody again next week. Well, we're in the studio of Bizarre Creations. I'm sorry, Bizarre Creative. They do a lot of work with pictures and does media design and websites. So please feel free to contact AJ over at this office, and he'll be willing to help you design websites and take photos as well. And we'll see everybody again next week. So we will see Ellis, who also showed us his face earlier today. So we look forward to having Ellis on board, and Primetime Scouting will be the sponsor. So thank you, and we'll see you again next week.
Good night.